Okay, we are live. Well, let the audience build up here a little bit here for us. Welcome everybody. Greg Buckley's Auto Care, and this is Shop Soup for Tuesday, Cinco de Mayo, and here we are. It is a beautiful day out here in the Delaware area, and I want to welcome everybody who's coming on board here for our recent version of Shop Soup. Most of us aren't aware, and I certainly wasn't aware, but it's Mental Health Month, Mental Health Awareness Month here. And with us today, we have a great guest, Tina Marie Jezyk. She is a child therapist, and she is working with the Children and Families First organization here in Delaware. And with today's COVID-19 and everything being confined, families spending a lot more closer time than what's normal, and everybody wanting to do their own thing, it comes into play that how do we keep our emotions, tidied or kind of like together and not want to strangle everybody, get on everybody's nerves. So a lot of separation that we used to have is no longer available. So conversation today is going to run the gamut from Tina's expertise in how children and family can cope a little better, and also what we can do to alleviate stuff. And Tina's going to talk also about what is going on with Children and Families First and what she's looking for. So, Tina, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here today. And tell us a little about yourself and how you got started and a little history about Tina.
Okay. I have been working with children in a therapeutic manner for the past 23 years. I was actually pregnant with my son, who will be 23 this year, when I graduated with my master's. And I started out with Child Inc. I went through various organizations. I was a school counselor for many years. I worked in crisis at Devereux as a family-based therapist. And recently, 6 months ago, just started at Children and Families First to have a less crisis-driven job so I can actually have a life. But I've been working with children and adolescents the whole time and the families.
That's amazing. I mean, and I'm sure you've seen the gamut of children and families and the relationships across all these years you've been doing it. So what are some of your, I guess, would you talk about your extreme cases and maybe your better ones?
Yeah, actually, cases have run the gamut. It's not a socioeconomic thing. It does hinder when a family can't afford rent and can't afford clean living environments, and but it's not socioeconomic. I've had very well-to-do families that have had issues, suicidal, foster care issues. So it doesn't matter how much money you make. What matters is if you're willing to put the love and the effort into learning about each other, because even if, regardless of whether you adopt a child, you're a foster parent, or you birth a child, we're all different, and no one family is the same. So we've had, families on welfare and families from well-to-do households.
So you had, like I said, there's the whole spectrum of children and families, and it's for some people may think that it's all about a social, lower social economic situations, but that's not the case.
It's not always the case.
Right, it's not always the case. There's always something, and in order to keep those relationships going, what do you see some parents doing that are positive to help alleviate the tension within these confinements that we're into?
Right. And again, it crosses over every kind of socioeconomic status, that even the low income, very needy families, as long as that child feels love and feels connected with the family, they can still thrive. Right now, we're dealing with a totally different life. Families are grieving. Not about 78-80% of maybe 4 out of 5 families would live paycheck to paycheck, and they're not making that paycheck now. Even the stimulus is not enough to help them. So we're seeing a lot of stress just from this COVID isolation.
Right.
And you can't deal with this grief. People are grieving. They're grieving the life they had. Kids can't go to school. Sometimes that school, that teacher that said good morning to them every day, that was their constant. That was their safety net.
Right.
And now kids are home. We've also heard it with domestic violence. People are still living in these conditions. They don't have that that constant outside like the students had. So now it's the stress of not being able to pay bills, not being able to put food on the table, parents out of work. And it's what I tell my families now is it's not a matter of those of us that still have a job that we're working from home. We're dealing with a pandemic, a crisis. We're grieving. So we're trying to deal with that while we're working from home, while we're homeschooling our children, while we are caregivers for our elderly family members. So it's not just, oh, we're working from home now. There's so many other stressors and factors that play into it. So it's really a matter of balance. And when you are worried about paying the rent or putting food on the table, that's going to heighten anybody's emotion.
Yeah, that's a critical situation. For a lot of families, that pressure is a breaking point.
Mm-hmm.
Once it seems like when one domino falls, that just creates another one, and it goes the whole line right on down to, well, now the tension is over. Now we got separation, and now you have
Right.
anger, and they want to get out, and that's when it can become destructive.
Right.
From what I hear and see, and to eliminate all that, I mean, it's very difficult. I mean, even in just in a two-person household, I know that just with my wife and I, um, there's only so much room in the house, and you're limited to go to where you can go, a grocery store, get to shop, and of course maybe out for some sundry items, and that's about it. You can't go to the restaurants, the theaters, the entertainment areas, the relief points.
Mm-hmm.
Are not available anymore, and families with kids. I just, what do you do? I mean, you can't go. Your vacations are altered.
Right.
Your parks are limited, if anything, and when you do go, you have to be aware of the mask,
The social distancing and all that.
and all that, and
Mm-hmm.
try to have a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old kind of understand that,
And they don't.
and they don't, right, and that just adds to everything. And then you factor in, like I said, like you said, the job situation, the unemployment, and I know that there are certain sectors of our economy here in Delaware that are really struggling. Your restaurant and hospitality workers,
Mm-hmm.
and all of your folks that normally would go to an office, they may be collecting unemployment, but it is still short of what they need, what they require, and all of your small businesses that aren't open, that are
Right.
desperately trying to maintain their business,
Mm-hmm.
and still have a little bit there to take care of their workers. And
Right.
so it's a big struggle. I think are we going to reach a breaking point ourselves as a state and as an economy? It's to be seen. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
And you do have, the economic aspect of it. But
Mhm.
again, just since it's Mental Health Awareness Month and
Right.
I'm a therapist,
Yeah,
so I have to put it in there that we're all dealing with grief
right.
because the life that we knew has changed. It's a
Mhm.
disappointment. If you're a senior and you were looking forward to graduation, to prom, signing day, sports banquets, whatever it might be, even if you're not a senior, just kids in school missing like I said, their classmates, their teachers. And then parents now trying to, whether they are working at home from home or not, trying to balance that, the homeschooling aspect.
Mhm.
Teachers, it's Teacher Appreciation Day. So thank you all the teachers.
Yes, it should be Teacher Appreciation Day, 365 days a year.
It should. And I think parents are really seeing that now, having to, I've seen, my child's not a pleasure at having class, but it's everything is different. So there is a level of grief, I think, for everyone. And it doesn't matter whether you're two people in a household, like you and your wife. I'm here with my dad. There's a level of balance that we have to find a new balance. On the news, they're talking about a new normal. But we don't know what that's going to look like now. And every day it could be different. Thank God it's sunny out. Thank God the weather's getting nicer. We can go out and enjoy, a walk with the family or whatever it might be. And those things are helpful. But again, families are still trying to, we used to be balancing work life. Now we're balancing life work.
Right.
Because we're trying to do this from home. And even I know I'm still trying to get my hours in, trying to take online classes and reaching out to my families and whatnot, talking to my kids, the students that I work with from the schools. But it is all different. It's in a different manner. It's not the same comfortable setting we used to have. It's not the same environment. So talking to someone, it's great to have these face-to-face, because now even when my brothers come in, it's so exciting to have human interaction. I met my fiance for coffee this morning, and that was awesome. And the little things that we used to do on a daily basis, everything has changed. So we need to learn, and this is all a learning process for us, but what we need in our life, and it's limited now. We can't go sit on a beach. We can't meet our friends at a restaurant for Friday happy hours. So we have the virtual ones.
Right.
So, and then I do have the families and deal with the families that don't have those capabilities. They don't have enough laptops for all 5 kids or 4 kids to sit and do schoolwork at the same time. They have to schedule that. They don't have a car that they could get in and drive to a local park. Maybe they're not in the nicest neighborhood. They can't go for a walk. So again, trying to figure out what you can do. So much nowadays we're told what we can't do. We have to look at what we can do.
That's an interesting point too. You're told what you can't do, yet we need to do it. That we need to have some kind of relief. So, folks, I want to interrupt just for a second here. I know that we have some viewers coming on screen. We are broadcasting live on Facebook and also YouTube at Buckley's Auto Care YouTube channel. And I have not been able to figure out how to see your posts here live. And I'm sure we can get to that after the fact. But if you have any questions, please fill them out. Afterwards, Tina or I can get back to you at some point. And if you need, Tina, a good question is, since we can't supply anything, but what would be a good, is there a number to call for families that may be having difficulties at this moment?
Well, sadly enough, CNN has reported different things, and I know the numbers fluctuate, but the numbers to mental health hotlines have increased greatly since COVID, since we've been on lockdown. Last night it was reported about 900%. So people do need that. In Delaware, there's 211. So in Delaware, it's 211. They can get resources for housing. If they can't afford rent, they can get information on food distribution. Many schools are providing free lunches on certain days or certain hours. I know even at Frames Boys Club here by me, they have lunch from 11 to 1 on certain days. So if you do have, if you can check it out online, you can Google them, make the calls. But 211, if you call them, they do have resources for food and for financial emergencies.
That's good to know. I put it in the comments on the YouTube side. Evidently, my Facebook side isn't taking comments at the time. I don't know why. I'm still getting used to this platform called StreamYard, so I do apologize, and I'll make sure that I put that on there as we close down and do a repeat. And by the way, Tina, I can turn this into a podcast, which I plan on, and also we can put it to a watch party and send it out again. So the messages, all the information, the great stuff that you're putting out here today will get repeated at some point, so we can always keep going with it. Another thing that is concerning, being Mental Health Awareness Week, is the rise in substance abuse and also the rise of alcohol, alcohol sales. And I know that I enjoy my happy hour. Just a beer or two is fine. But substance abuse and opioid abuse is actually climbing.
Yep.
That adds to the stressors that you had talked about.
Yep.
Are you seeing any difference in? I mean, how do any of the organizations that you cope that makes you cope with them, or I should say, how do you cope with them?
Well, I don't deal with substance abuse families.
Okay.
But they are, the numbers again are skyrocketing. And like you said, the sales in, liquor stores stayed open in Delaware.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, groups were canceled. So think about those people who were going to AA, trying to get the help, and then all of a sudden they're not able to. I'm not well versed in how their groups, if they were able to continue. But that is the reality. Even suicides have increased nationwide, and it is because of mental health. Because again, we're dealing with the logistics of being shut down through these emergencies, and it was quite abrupt. March 16th was a Monday. Everything was closing down, and I think in Delaware that Tuesday we had to, no restaurants, nothing. So those people that did thrive, or it helped them maintain their balance by going to these AA meetings or, things like that, it's all shut down or it's changed. Just like it's changed for everybody. But the mental health aspect of it does lead to the higher substance abuse, higher drug abuse, higher just child and domestic violence.
Yeah.
So
that's the fallout, and that we all want to be safe with what we're doing, and we all want to respect the fact that we don't want to share something that could actually harm you. Talking about the virus, that is.
Yeah.
But what do you? And you don't need to answer this, but what do you think that the complete fallout will be with all of this? Stay-at-home situation where all of these other elements of staying home is now starting to come to fruition. The opioid use, the alcohol, the suicide, the children and their safety and well-being. Where do we draw the line? And this is a reason some maybe the states that are opening are saying, I think I'd rather deal with the virus than have more families affected by this,
Right. And then you put poverty on top of that, not being able to feed your family. So it just intensifies everything.
Right.
And it's scary. It's sad. There are some families that can deal with it. Some families that are having more trouble. Like I said earlier, it doesn't matter if you're in a 2-person household or if you have 6 in your house. I can't talk about that now. Loved growing up in a big family, but if I had to be, quarantined with them for 8 weeks, I don't know what I'd do. I might not be here to talk to you now. So we all have to find that balance. And again, all of these factors impact how we're living.
Right.
Some people can be very structured and some people are just very go with the flow. Some people that works for them, some people it doesn't. So now is the time. I saw a meme a while ago and it said, remember if you said you had more time, you would do X, Y, and Z, like clean out the closets, paint a room, and none of that's getting done.
No.
The first week that I was working from home, luckily I am blessed to still have a job and work from home. Somebody said to me, "Oh, your house must be spotless." And I thought, no, it's not. It's harder working from home, caring for my father, just dealing with the things that go on here in the house, and still trying to do my full-time job. So this isn't a vacation. This isn't a long weekend. We're all tired of it. And we're not at that point where we, at least I'm not, getting all those Pinterest things done, getting all those extra projects done. No way. I'm just trying to get my job done, and it's harder sometimes.
Oh, Friday comes around and you still think, well, wait a minute. Friday, I typically would have things done, and I can enjoy doing the home improvements, whether it's the gardening or the rescreening or painting or patio work. But now it's, hey, wait a minute. I need 2 days to do nothing.
Right.
And even then I can't do nothing. I may have to hit a weekend webinar where, it's the only time slot available, things like that. And, that plays on in as well. It's amazing. As we're talking, I keep thinking, my gosh, what isn't stressing us out over this,
Right.
I mean, because time is the most important thing that we have, and how well we use it. And when it starts to get limited or we're restricted, and then we can't do the few things that give personal enjoyment, then we get frustrated, and that really starts brewing everything up.
Right. And if you think with somebody who is already dealing with depression or anxiety, and not knowing how to function in what was our normal world, needing the assistance, now doing without, it's very easy to fall into that slump of, I'm just going to sit here and not do anything because I want to be safe. I don't want to get sick. And then they just, it's no way to live. So it's very difficult. And that's why, if I can urge everybody, if you need the help, reach out, call a friend. A friend of mine, I haven't talked to in a while, but she was a friend of mine on Facebook. At the beginning of this, she said, I'm going to take every few days and call a new friend that I haven't talked to in a while. Great idea. This is a great time to catch up, because we do need that human interaction. We're human. We're social people.
We're communal.
Yeah, we need to have that social interaction.
Yeah.
So it is a grief that we're all dealing with, that we can't. Easter, we couldn't have the family together. Mother's Day is coming up, and even with the elderly, and not being allowed to go into nursing homes and visit your elderly, parents, grandparents.
Right.
So all of these things, it's a grief that people are now dealing with or have to deal with.
Kids can't see mama and papa.
No.
Yeah.
So it's really sad. It is a grief. It's a huge disappointment. And the new normal that they're talking about, we're still not sure what that is. So we have to get up each morning. For me, it's positivity and having that positive thought, because you need to change your thoughts if you want to change your emotions.
And I did see you out there trying to go walk the other day, right?
I haven't figured out walking and going live on Facebook yet, but
it's easy to do.
I posted a live video after I walked.
Yeah.
But just trying to get out, because for me, I used to go to the gym. I was doing great going to the gym.
Yeah, same here.
So,
and everything. But you touched on a key point that a lot of small businesses may or may not practice, which is simply calling a client up that needs to have a little bit. Maybe they haven't had the time to talk. I know that I've made a few myself, and actually one elderly lady, Mrs. Gardner, Mrs. G. She's right in the old neighborhood, and she is a spry 95-year-old woman. She's a hoot. She really is. And I call her Mrs. G. And either I'll call her, or she lives right down the street, so I can stop down and see her anytime, or she'll call me. And all she wants is just to talk. And that is a refreshing situation, because it's important, like you said. It's someone reaching out at a time of need, and they want to have that interaction. Um, Maybe they don't have family. Maybe they're looking for a different voice. So it's just a simple thing like that. A phone call is really important.
Right. I know Dad's sick of talking to me.
Oh, he always a talker. he was never at a loss for conversation.
Oh yeah, he's feel free to call him anytime.
Oh yeah, and give you some relief, right?
Yeah.
We'll have to make that a point. So, well, what else is there in terms of what you're doing professionally? Where are you heading, or what is children and families doing to? What are their programs like, and how do people reach out to you for situations?
Well, I can't speak for the agency, but as an employee of the agency, I work at school-based groups.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a trauma therapist, so I've worked in schools. But there are many different branches of Children and Families First. There's foster care is a big one. They do grief counseling, which is another big one that kind of piggybacks off of the trauma groups that I do. Some of the kids might be in my group one season, a fall or a spring, and then might go to grief counseling another season. Another semester of the school year. But there are many different branches in Children and Families First. So I just deal with the trauma-based school therapies.
Okay.
So no. Yeah. So right now what I'm doing is I call my families. Some parents will say, oh, here's Johnny, and hand the phone to their son or their daughter. As long as they get permission, I could talk to them. But again, because of confidentiality, I can't necessarily do a therapy group or a therapy session because I would always work in groups with the kids. And sometimes the kids would be talking about the way their parents treat them. And they can't always just open up right there with mom or dad in the same room with them. So again, it's really changing a lot of, it has changed a lot since we've all been not going into schools. And,
different times for sure. So
yeah.
Any final suggestions or tips you can offer families, or who might need anything out there that you can help them with? Like, just say, hey, here's that one quick way you can eliminate tension, or supervise outside play, whatever.
Yeah, well, the way I describe, frustrations or anger with kids, it's kind of like a soda bottle. When you shake it up, what happens when you take the lid off immediately? It's going to blow up and explode all over, and it's just going to make a mess. So, we want to loosen that lid just a little bit at a time. So that takes a lot, and that's for adults too. So we want to take this time, and we can't really. There are lots of things we want to learn, and like I said, all those things we wanted to do. A lot of us can't do that at this time, but it is a time to really reflect on our own self, what our needs are, and if you're getting angry, if you're getting frustrated, to know those coping skills that work for you. As you know, I started going out for walks, and I try to get in a little run once in a while. Try to get back into running, not quite there, but at least walking to get that fresh air, that change of scenery, vitamin D. No, I don't walk with a mask on my face, but I walk alone or with my dog, sometimes with a friend, but we'll try to maintain our social distancing. So get out. I've had families that I will call at noon. And they'll say, oh, my child's still asleep. But if that works for your household, God bless you. I've had families that I call, and I talk to one kid, and he goes, well, now I'm on recess, and science starts in 20 minutes because it's A day. And I said, oh, you're following the school schedule. He said, yep, today's A day. So if you can do that, God bless you. You have to find whatever works for you. So if and when you're starting to get frustrated, that feelings thermometer, you feel that thermometer getting higher, just like in Frosty.
Right.
When the thermometer gets red, he starts to melt, gets all wishy-washy. We need to know when the thermometer is going up. We need to let that lid off that soda bottle a little bit at a time.
Right.
We're not.
That's a good analogy. I didn't never thought about that. Yeah, but just think of a soda cap, and
we're not sticking Mentos in the Diet Coke.
Right.
Just think of all those people that tick us off and make us angry. They're like Mentos. We don't need that.
That's good.
So you have to find it's all individual. What works for one will not work for another. But when your child comes up and says, "Hey, I'm bored," make a list of things, not demanding of them, but say, "Hey, well, you can pick from this list. Do you want to pull weeds? Do you want to cut the grass? Do you want to pick up twigs in the backyard?"
There you go. Give them chores. That's one thing to keep them busy.
And make a game out of it. And especially for those younger kids that can't understand why we are, isolated and not going to school. We have to talk to them in their own language on their level.
Right.
Because the doctors say this is the best for us, and mom and dad want to keep you healthy. So this is what we have to do. But it doesn't have to be miserable. We can still, I colored Easter eggs about a week ago.
Okay.
I didn't do it on Easter, and I did it myself. And I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I just like to do different things like that. And Dad didn't want to join me, and that's fine.
Well, you had arts and crafts. Arts and craft time.
So you throw in those things just to kind of break up the monotony, because you're stuck in the same house.
Right. So it's using your imagination.
Make a list of the things, and it's not these big projects. Take 15 minutes outside just to sit and listen to the birds, or
meditation, or a little bit of thought time for yourself. And, it's not like it used to be where our parents used to, well, just go outside and play. Just go down the park.
Right. We used to go out, and that was it.
Yeah, that was it. Right. So
and,
now we're forced to be more imaginative and think about not just what just not relieve ourselves, but how to be creative with kids near us or with us.
Right.
And, how to incorporate playtime either into learning time or vice versa, but just enough to kind of keep their activity levels up.
Right. And if I could throw a plug out there, PBS Sesame Street. If you YouTube Sesame Street, I was on there yesterday. They have all kinds of belly breathing, which is a way to reduce your own stress. Teaching kids belly breathing. It talks about COVID, and and it tells them on their own level. When you get Elmo and Rosita telling you about this, it makes it a little bit more understandable. So I definitely think now's the time to access those resources. Google things like Sesame Street to tell your kindergartner, why he or she can't go to school. There are all kinds of resources out there, and even for adults to, take 15 minutes. And I took a tour of the Sistine Chapel a couple weeks ago. YouTube, you can do all these different things.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I mean, I didn't even think about it, but for small businesses or myself, I actually subscribe to the great courses. And there are really well-known professors that are doing 45-minute sessions on recording, or sometimes they're live, and at least you can educate and grow yourself a little bit, I might say, as you can. And that's a relief. I mean, or like for other ways, you just go out and cook on your grill and enjoy a nice day, whatever. But I think it's important just to have some kind of mechanism that you can rely on that actually helps you break everything.
And I'm a big proponent of mindfulness. So even Google things on mindfulness, not quite meditation, but just being aware of your body and being in the moment. what you're doing, being present, fully present. And again, like I said, and if, I refer back to a therapeutic theory of Maslow, and he created the hierarchy of needs.
Yes.
We're way down at the bottom. We need shelter. We need food. We're not self-actualizing. I'm not going to learn French. I'm not going to learn Polish while I'm in lockdown.
Why not? I mean,
The little bit I know is going to be enough.
Same here.
Yeah. So, we're not going to do all of these wonderful things. My house isn't spotless. So right now we are at the bottom.
Primary.
Basic needs.
Yeah, basic needs.
And, but if you do get a chance just to kind of change change the monotony of your day, Google something just for 10 minutes that you wanted to sit and, just be with your thoughts, whether it's prayer, whether it's meditation, being mindful of yourself and having that positive attitude. When you change that thought, it's going to change your emotions.
Yeah.
If I wake up and I have a positive thought, then if something goes wrong, I'm going to deal with it in a positive way. I'm going to make the most of it because life isn't perfect.
Right. Very important. That's a very important statement right there. Life is not perfect. And the expectations are sometimes too great, or we think that it should be where it is. Because there's a lot of influences out there that make us think less of ourselves because someone else may be either economically higher or in a better life position, that kind of thing. When that stuff should not matter. It's what we, like you said, aware of what we are, where we are, and what we do, and like I said, centered. So
right. Yeah, we are all on our own journey, so we don't have to compete with our neighbor or our coworker, anything like that. You just have to find out, and understand that we are where we are supposed to be as individuals.
Well, it's a great way to end our conversation on the Mental Health Awareness Week, because I think we ran the gamut from kids to families to individuals here at the end. So, folks, I really want to say thank you very much for joining us on this episode of Shop Soup. Again, my guest has been Tina Marie Jezyk. She is a therapist, a child therapist here in the state of Delaware. Tina, thank you very much. I think you got some great insight and some super tips on how families can cope during these times when we're more confined with one another, longer than we would be for a vacation,
right,
in a hotel room. This is real world stuff.
Yeah.
Folks, if you have any need to reach out, the number is 211 here in Delaware. You can call and grab help for your family situation, whatever the case might be. And Children and Families First is an organization here in Delaware that is also a resource and a number to call. Tina, I want to thank you again. More than welcome to come back. We're going to try and get this thing moving once all Shop Soup moving again. And we invite all the guests back. If there's something different, keep in contact with me for sure. And we can get you back on and talk about after the COVID situation has ended and now what is happening then. So,
and hopefully that'll be soon.
Oh yeah, hopefully it'll be very soon. To all the guests that have hung out with us, I'm going to try and get this Facebook comments fixed so that we can answer you on the fly and take your questions in. I'd like to remind everybody next Tuesday, we have Kelly Jones, small business and entrepreneur owner for The Cleaning Girl. She is going to talk about how she's keeping homes clean for people at home and dealing with the virus in her way and what her entrepreneurial journey has been. So it'll be another interesting show. Tina, thanks again. I appreciate it. It's great seeing you. And we will repeat this at another watch party. And we'll put it on a podcast. It'll be able to be downloaded here shortly. Okay?
Thanks
again, Tina. Take care now.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.